what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down, whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, my friends, to this fine little radio program known as Smokin' and Toastin'. We are so glad to have you on board with us for show number 138, and it's about to take place right here and now. Smokin' and Toastin' is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. As I mentioned, show number 138, and today we have Eureka Heights Brewing in the house, and we're also going to talk about the 7 basic rules of cigar lounge etiquette. All of which I'm sure.
I know one. Pick me.
All of which I'm sure you have violated at one time or the other or another, Ian. So I know you're a good cigar lounge guy. Yeah,
when you go to a cigar lounge, smoke clove cigarettes.
Yeah, that's always what they're looking for. Yeah,
they love that.
Yeah, always. Always make sure that you add some personal fragrance to the right. to the room.
And don't bathe.
Yes, exactly.
Don't bathe.
We are excited to have Evan Camp from Eureka Heights Brewing in the house today, and Evan has brought along some Eureka Heights tasties, including something brand new that we have not tasted. So I'm
hot
really,
right now.
really. You keep saying that. You were saying that before the show. So we're looking forward to that. Eureka Heights was actually the second brewery we had on the show way back. Do you remember that?
I do.
Yeah, it was a...
we had Brent on the show, the ambassador of Buzz.
Yes, and...
He's much taller than us.
Yeah, and Evan actually is...
not
you're like
taller than us.
Yeah, and also... He's apparently the ambassador of Party because your shirt says Party Boy MD on it.
Yeah, I'm doctorate in partying.
And I noticed actually that your email also refers to you as Party Boy. So I was going to ask you, what is that about exactly?
Well, I was brought on the team about a year and 3 months ago to completely, book and invent all the fun stuff that happens at the brewery. From, we can do private party bookings there. Right. I was just talking to you guys earlier about weddings. We do weddings there. But anything that you see going on at the brewery, from our annual anniversary parties to our upcoming weenie roast in June, is all done by me. So, yeah, anything that brings people in, having a good time, I like to be responsible for that.
We'll get into this more in a little bit, but certainly one of the big trends in craft beer in the last several years has been the evolution of the brewery as a destination for, not just brewery tours, but a destination for people to go and hang. Yeah, and so that plays right into what you're doing because you're putting together activities so people will come and hang more often and longer, right?
Absolutely, yeah. If I wasn't doing my job, the brewery would not be a fun place to.
If he wasn't doing his job, I would have never heard of beer and yoga.
That's true. That's true.
that's a good thing.
I mean, they have beer and yoga.
That you've heard.
I haven't been involved with it.
Me neither.
But that just sounds entertaining.
Doesn't it?
I don't bend that way.
I've often, thought that beer and yoga pants maybe went together well, but never actually beer and yoga itself. So that's a new one. You can tell us a little bit about that as we go. A lot of things happening in the news this week, and we'll talk about some of these. Cigar Aficionado has put out a list of 7 fine cigars for $7 or less. So if we have a moment, we'll go through that and talk about it. And consumers' top 12 factors when choosing a craft beer. So that should be interesting to see. Yeah, I don't know if you'll agree or disagree with this list, but it should be interesting. And the winners have been announced for the Texas Whiskey Festival. So basically the Texas whiskeys were competing, and we've talked a lot about Texas whiskeys on the show. We've had a number of great Texas whiskeys on the show. In fact, I just read a review yesterday online, I think it was Whiskey Wash, of a spirit that we just tried a few weeks ago on the show, which was the Balcones bourbon.
Oh, yeah.
And they gave it, I think, 4 out of 5 stars. So
Balcones is so good.
Not surprised. Yeah, absolutely not surprised. So So that's going to be exciting. Plus, Ian has brought along a spirit that we'll be tasting. What is that, Ian?
This is the
lovely bottle.
Glen Scotia Double Cask.
Oh, good.
I'll put it right up in front of my face.
So
here.
you can tell us all about that when the time
Action
comes.
cam.
Yeah, you can tell us all about that when the time comes. So it's been an interesting week. We had. Oh, by the way, before I forget, huge thanks to Greg Doxakis from Pierre Fernand and the Plantation Rum Company for being with us on the show last week, along with our good buddy Jeremiah at B&B Butchers and Restaurant.
And that show was a blast.
Oh,
that
was
was such a good time.
It's always fun. It's always fun whenever we get together with Jeremiah.
Yeah.
And Dox is just, he's just a complete.
That guy just about interviews himself.
Treasure trove of information, isn't he? Yeah, it's pretty darn cool.
Wind him up, watch him go.
Yeah, it's pretty darn cool. So that was at B&B last week, and thanks to those guys. And we had quite a time. I was thankful to be taking an Uber, and but it's been a crazy busy week. We have basketball playoffs going on here in Houston, of course, and it is finally starting to feel like summer in Houston, which I know some of you still have snow on the ground.
Which means it's hot and rainy.
But hot and rainy. And I got out of the car today, and I thought, okay, it felt like I just walked into a damp washcloth.
I think
this is summer in Houston.
In most parts of the country, when it rains, it actually cools it down. So people look for that summer rain, and they're like, out here it makes it hotter.
Yes.
And raises the humidity to the point of where it's almost raining.
Yeah, it's almost like impossible to walk through.
Yeah.
It's so thick. So, but you know what? Not complaining. I'm happy to be out of the cold, and it does give us more opportunities to maybe find a nice shady place and smoke a cigar. Speaking of which, Ian, did you smoke anything interesting this week?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. I was busy this morning, so I didn't get to go do my morning thing. So I had to sit down last night and have a cigar.
You had to sit down and have a cigar.
Yeah, this is one of the. Okay, so having a job like this, like one of the things you have to do is occasionally you have to make sacrifices. Like,
right.
I could have sat at my house and I could have watched TV, or I could have even accomplished something. What I had to do for the show was sit down and review a cigar.
Right. That was your requirement. That was your job.
Well, yeah. If I don't do that, then then I'm not fulfilling this job requirement.
Right.
And I certainly don't want to get fired from this job.
Right.
Because
we got Eureka Heights today.
I'll take over.
It would have been a bad day to get fired, though.
Right? So I went ahead and I took the hit, and I selected a cigar from a humidor, and I went outside. And what I selected was a Romeo y Julieta 1875 Trace.
The Trace, nice.
The Trace. This was a 6x50. The appearance, light brown, mostly smooth, some veins, very firm cigar. Like it felt, I was a little, how sometimes
usually you want a little bit of sponginess.
Yeah, I mean it was so so firm that I was a little worried that that it was going to be a little too tight on the draw. But I did the pre-light sniff, was earthy, some barnyard kind of nutty smells. Not a whole lot going on, but those those basic things. The pre-light draw was actually a medium draw. It was nice. It worked out pretty well. The pre-light draw had flavors of tangy leather, mocha, little milk chocolate, some sweetness to it. That was really nice. It actually was pretty complex just before I lit it. The initial light was actually a little bit less complex. It had some pepper, some leather, a little mocha to it, and a little nuttiness to it.
My experience with the more basic Romeos is that they start off with less flavor but build fairly nicely.
Well, so you're right on the money here, because the first third of this, I got a lot of nuttiness. I got that leather flavor. There's a sweet creaminess that was going through this.
They're
really
nice.
nice.
Creamy, yep.
A little spicy tanginess on the background. The wrapper was a nice solid feeling wrapper on it. It left your lips just a little tingly, that kind of feel you get from the tobacco. Had a great even burn, solid ash to it. The second third of this, I started getting kind of that tanginess that I was tasting earlier, started turning into some kind of almost fruit flavors.
Oh, wow.
Just a little bit on the background, not like, not crazy out front, but just a little bit. It had a lot of that nuttiness and creaminess to it, the mocha. Pepper was kind of coming back and forth. The pepper in this was really interesting because it wasn't there the entire time. It would show up a little bit and cycle through and then come back out.
Romeos are generally not pepper bombs.
Right, right. And it's just a little bit of pepper to it. Just enough to have, oh, that's interesting, Again, perfect burn, solid ash. The last third of this cigar, lots of the nutty flavors and leather, the sweet creaminess. Pepper kept coming and going. It did build up a little bit, a little more complexity, a little more of the chocolatey flavors. And mocha flavors were showing up at the very end as I got to the smaller portion of the cigar. And I smoked this down pretty darn far. I didn't let it burn my fingers, but I smoked it down pretty darn far. This is about a $7 cigar.
Mm-hmm.
And Romeo and Julieta has the name. Like you expect
Sure.
anytime you buy one of those to have a great cigar. This cigar burned perfectly.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. That's one thing about Romeos.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever had one not burn really well.
I started thinking about it while I was smoking a cigar, and oh, by the way, the whiskey sniff on this one was the IPA cask Glenfiddich. That's the one that won on the whiskey sniff.
So you went to the whiskeys, you sniffed.
I did, yeah. I went to the whiskeys, and that's the one.
So interesting.
Yeah, it was.
I love that whiskey.
And this cigar was definitely on the mild to the light side of medium. Okay, so it was not a huge bomb of a flavor or anything. Just the flavors were subtle. They were great.
So that brought a little more out of it then.
Yeah, and then that particular expression just really worked well together. So at $7, this gets probably a 6. I thought.
Nice.
As a Romeo and Julieta, I expect it to be awesome.
Right.
I expect it to be good. As a $7 Romeo and Julieta, I thought, okay, it has to at least be pretty good, but this one was more complex than I was even expecting. So I thought it punched a little bit above its weight class.
That's awesome.
And so I'm going to give it a solid 6 on that. Plus the burn was just amazing. How about you?
I enjoyed an aging room, Quattro Nicaragua. It was a box-pressed cigar. It didn't come with and I tried looking it up online and didn't find a designation whether it was actually a Churchill or a Toro, but it was box press. It looked to be about 44, 46 ring gauge. You can't take the box press one and stick it in the little ring gauge thing without messing it up. But it was beautifully box pressed, really, really pretty cigar. And being a Nicaraguan puro, that means all the tobacco, the wrapper, the binder, the filler, all comes from Nicaragua.
Right.
And Aging Room, one of the things they're really well known for is the blending of their tobacco. So I thought this would be interesting to see, okay, if they're limiting their ability somewhat to bring in tobaccos from different places, it'll be interesting to see what kind of a blend that they come up with. So the pre-light on it was all earth. And this was a very dark Maduro cigar. Yeah, it's a beautiful cigar. Very dark. The pre-light on it was all earth, extremely pleasant. I clipped it with a V-cut and lit it easily. It had nice strength from the beginning, but about a half an inch in, here came the flavor to kind of match the strength. So when you first light a cigar, you're not getting that complexity usually at first, but you're getting a nice little bit of oomph from it. That's exactly what it was. About a half an inch in, man, here came the flavor and the complexity. Wonderful deep earth notes. I mean, it was one of the earthiest cigars I've smoked in a long time, but in a really, really great
kind of way.
Yep. A kind of a chocolate with a hint of mint that made me think of the Thin Mint Girl Scout cookies.
Nice.
Now, it wasn't, I don't want to say that it actually had that as a flavor.
It's not a minty cigar, but
that's
just
what
a
it
hint,
made me think of. Yeah, it's what it made me think of. So the smoke had, and this is one of the things that I really loved about the cigar, it had an incredible secondary aroma. So if you would put it down in the ashtray for a moment, walk away, come back, and now you're smelling the
That's
smoke
called
from
the room note.
The room note. Thank you. I call it secondary aroma, but room note is so much more appropriate. Except I was outside, so it was a large room. But it's the smell that it's like you ever walk into a cigar lounge and you walk in and you smell and immediately go, wow, somebody is having something amazing.
Yeah.
That's what it made me think of, this the room note on this. There were some lighter wood notes to it as it smoked. A little bit of almond flavor. There was pepper, but once the cigar got going, the pepper never kind of broke through and took over, as pepper flavor can do sometimes. One side of it burned a tiny bit faster than the other for just a minute, but it evened out. Was never a problem. It wasn't like a razor burn, but it was. I never even had to touch it up, which was great. I'm going to tell you, it was a fantastic cigar. I really enjoyed it. I don't know, huge thumbs up. It was about a $10 to $11 stick.
Okay.
So it wasn't cheap, but I felt like it was more than worth every penny. Price to quality, I will go 6.5, 6.5. And so, Evan, the way our price to quality scale works, and we apply it a lot more to cigars than we do to beverages, but we like to talk about the quality versus what you had to pay for it. So if you were smoking a cigar, you got felt like you got exactly what you paid for. Like it was great, it was worth every penny. That's a 5 on the scale of 1 to 10.
And it doesn't matter what the price is.
Right. The price could be $20.
$20 cigar.
$20 supply means it's worth $20. Yeah. If you have a $5 cigar and it smokes like a good $5 cigar, then that's a 5 as well. A lot of times the cheaper cigars will be the ones that get the higher than 5 ratings because, hey, I only paid $6 for this, but wow, it smoked like a $10, $12 cigar. Right. So it's easier for that to happen than to smoke a $20 cigar and go, yeah, I would have been okay paying $30 for it. You know, that's less likely to happen. But in this case, at 10 or 11, for it to get a 6.5, I mean,
that's pretty
what
big.
I'm basically saying is I'd have paid $14, $15 for this and not been disappointed with what I got. So it was really good. And, you know, I've been smoking a lot of AJ Fernandez stuff lately, so it was nice to deviate from the sort of the
very different flavor
AJ
profile,
flavor profile into this, and it was really, really wonderful. And I
it's also nice that you picked a cigar that didn't explode and or burn like a canoe or
yes,
whatever.
And,
so
yeah,
you've had a little run of bad luck.
I've had a little run
and
of
I
bad
meant
luck.
Run as a pun.
Yes, but and you know what? I've checked and double checked my humidors. I was like, every time one of those happens,
you get paranoid.
I will go and get another cigar and smoke it from the same humidor and go, okay, nothing's wrong with the humidor. This is smoking fine, you know. So,
right.
But yes, I have had a rash of those, and I don't. You know, we've already done those reviews. No point in going back and trashing Gurkha again. So, all right. So I tell you what, let's do. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to ask you about Buckle Bunny because this has been at least from my perspective, has been the one that really kind of kicked Eureka Heights into gear. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and it's also a very good beer, but I'm going to pretend I didn't say that, and we'll taste it.
Yeah.
And see how we like it. What do you think, Ian?
That sounds like a good idea.
Because you and I haven't had any Buckle Bunny.
No, none at all.
To speak of.
Today, you mean?
Yeah, so far today.
True.
Yes.
True.
All right, so we'll come back. We'll talk Buckle Bunny. We'll talk Eureka Heights. And I really want to say, I mean, again, from where I stand, you guys seem like maybe you've really figured out how to do this. Because some breweries come in and they really struggle with that getting into stores phase, even if they've done really well as a destination brewery, and they have been very successful in that. The getting into stores phase, maybe people try it right away, but then it really eases back. Doesn't seem like that's happened with you guys, but you can let us know and tell us all about that journey when we come back. Plus, we have more to talk about because 7 rules of Cigar Lounge etiquette. We'll see how many Ian has violated today when we come back.
In one day?
It's smoking.
Make sure you listen to your music really loud on your cell phone.
Yeah, right. Don't plug in your earbuds. Just let the little
enjoy
tinny
it.
cell phone speaker. Oh, sure.
Yes.
We have some cups here, though. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 138. Eureka Heights is in the house today, and we're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, and in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Craft beer is at the top of many lists, including increasingly millennials. According to a new survey conducted by CNR Research, beer drinkers spend an average of $59 a month on craft beer.
That's it?
according to a new survey.
Who does?
And millennials lead the spending pack due to their obsession with craft beer. Millennials spend an additional $5 per month because more than half said they would prefer having at least one craft beer per week. Now, this is what's wrong with research. I just have to say this. Because it paints this picture of the average millennial who drinks mainstream beer, except once a week they want a craft beer. And that's not how it works.
No, not
That's not how it works at all. You've got millennials who drink mainstream beer, but you've got an increasingly large number of
Is
them.
Pabst Blue Ribbon really mainstream beer?
Well, it's just impossible to
it
classify.
seems a little niche for mainstream
It's
beer.
impossible.
Maybe.
It's impossible to classify. But
trendy beer.
But yes, it is. It is
With the
trendy.
millennial crew.
Yeah,
Right.
it is trendy. But it's not like the PBR drinker is going, okay, I haven't had a craft beer this week. I think I'll get a Eureka Heights. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the way it works. You've got the ones who drink mainstream beer or PBR, wherever that falls, and you've got the craft beer, aficionados, the ones that drink it and that love it, and that's what they go for primarily. They may have the occasional mainstream beer, but it's not a group of people who are each having one a week. That makes no sense. But the numbers are probably right. And $59 a month, again, that's all millennials. So you got millennials that don't drink. You got millennials that drink, that don't drink beer at all.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody factors into that mix. So that's, I'm sorry, $59. Did I say a week? $59 a month. Yeah.
See, $59 a week sounds a little more realistic.
Doesn't
Yeah.
it though? Yeah, I mean
me.
it really does for the people
At
that
today's beer prices.
right, and for people that actually go out and that's what they order is beer. I know I've had very few bar tabs that were 59 or below when it all came down to it.
I don't know of very many months where I've spent $59 or less
on beer. Yeah.
beer for
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah, but anyway, there's the latest figures, and it's always interesting to see how these surveys come out. Just like that survey where all that money was spent to determine that kids don't smoke premium cigars.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, we would never have known. We would never have known. So Evan Camp is here. Evan is the party boy from Eureka Heights Brewing. We talked about that a little bit in the first segment, that you are the party boy because you're basically responsible for putting together the activities. So what?
Wait. Did you get the name because you're responsible for putting together the activities? This is a chicken and egg question here. Or did you have the name and they decided that guy would be good for this?
No. So, I mean, if the mentality and the culture around Eureka Heights is very, very serious, as you may know. No, I'm kidding. We're we're
Apparently,
very.
there's Eureka Heights people
I
we
love
haven't
that.
met.
I love the poster that says Eureka Heights, which their logo is EH, and it says we put the in meh.
Exactly.
We got that off the internet.
I mean, you guys are ridiculous.
No, I mean we have a real quirky kind of take ourselves seriously only about the beer kind of persona about us.
I think that
So,
works, though.
Yeah,
I mean, because people do take you seriously about the beer, I think.
right. But we don't want to.
Yeah.
We don't want to take us seriously anywhere else. We want them to have fun with us too. So when you come to our brewery, it's not business anymore. It's time to have a good time, and that's what I'm responsible for doing. But the party boy title came with the job. I was a big partier regardless, but didn't have that title. I jumped on board with these guys about a little over a year ago, and I was not allowed to have a regular title such as events manager.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
As you mentioned, Brent is the ambassador of Buzz, but he's our sales manager. But
Right,
we
right.
all have cool titles, but also securing us in these jobs for life because no one will hire us with these titles.
What did you do in your last
Right.
job, Evan? Well, I
Party
was
boy.
party boy
Yeah.
at Eureka Heights.
Excellent. I'll never
Okay,
hire
we'll
me.
call you.
There's only one place in town that will hire you, and they're actually called
Party
Party
boy.
Boy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what is the crowd like that comes to Eureka Heights for these for these activities that you put together?
No, I mean our crowd is very very diverse.
I was
would
going to say, I would
Uh,
guess that it's diverse, right?
Very much so. I mean, obviously we're nestled right in the Heights in a big neighborhood there. We're surrounded by a bunch of houses, a bunch of great bars and restaurants as well. So we do get a lot of Heights locals, families that come in. One thing about us, too, we do welcome all ages into the brewery. Of course, we don't serve all of them, but we do welcome welcome all ages into the brewery,
so people can bring kids along and all of that stuff, and it's cool.
We do embrace the fact that it is a drinking establishment, and we want the adults to come because they're the ones spending the money and having a good time, but the kids are welcome, so we throw in some arcades and some other games.
If the kids can come along, the adults may stay longer, right?
Absolutely.
And frankly, those arcade games are a little old, so those might be for the grown-ups too.
Yeah, I mean they are, but the kids,
like, old intentionally, not old in a bad way.
The kids enjoy them though too. But no, it's become kind of a haven for
a Pac-Man, Daddy.
Just put a quarter in and find out. But no, it's become a kind of a hub for kind of anybody and everybody. All the events we do are not subject just to one person. Like I said, we got our big weenie roast coming up June 22nd, which is our big summer party.
Right.
Dollar
so you
hot
have
dogs
like
all
a band
day.
and
Band, DJ. We have various hot dog games going on, from how many hot dogs you can fit in your mouth to bobbing for hot dogs. All these kind of fun. Again, very, very serious
awesome.
Brewery here, guys. Yeah. So
exactly. But with the beer, it's always been pretty serious. And I remember when we had Eureka Heights on the show the first time, I want to say it was like the 4th or 5th show that we did.
It was pretty early,
and everything came in the can crowlers because at that time nothing was being canned and sent out to retail. We loved the beer; it was delicious, and we had we had a great show and had great fun. But the beer has always been a fairly serious thing. Was it around Christmas of last year that you guys started showing up in stores? Has it been that recently?
It's about just almost a year. I think probably 9 or 10 months now. We've been out there in the public with our cans. It came out first with Mini Boss and Buckle Bunny in the 12-ounce cans. You can find those now in all major grocery stores and liquor stores across the Houston area. We're still very local to that. We're not anywhere else.
At this point,
And while we do want to grow as a company, we want to do it baby steps, and we want to make sure that we are catering to our local Houstonians first. And maybe as time goes on, things will change, but it's not in the cards for us yet. So we're keeping it very local here. And while it does seem like we are growing, which we very much are, we are keeping our roots and staying right here.
Well, I remember speaking with Joel right after Thanksgiving of last year. Joel Swift is one of the owners of Eureka Heights, and he mentioned he was so happy he couldn't stop grinning, but you guys had some incredibly high numbers, one of the highest selling SKUs at HEB there in the Heights.
HEB, for those who are not from the Texas area, is a chain of grocery stores that's very
much like Kroger.
Very much like a Kroger or something like that, except that they are very much Texas based.
Texas. It was quite a celebration for us. It was something that we didn't expect to happen. They launched a brand new store in the Heights, as most of y'all know. We were one of the beers that were brought on, and were able to expo during that first weekend it was open. And as the week ended, we found out we were the top second or third selling SKU across the board in HEB, not just in beer sales.
Beer, but everything.
Everything.
Wow. So what you're saying is that you were in basically doing one of those things where you have a table, you're pouring little samples, and what's happening is people are drinking it and saying that's good.
I gotta say, okay, so this Buckle Bunny, which we joke about it, I'm very familiar with this. This is an outstanding cream ale or blonde ale, which I believe is the same designation, but it's called cream ale on here. This beer is so good. Like, just its presentation, it's incredibly friendly can. Let me see that for a second.
And it says crisp and corny like a delightful
Look
dad
how
joke.
friendly this can is.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not love that?
Pink
right?
bunny.
Like that is the absolute opposite of like an arrogant bastard bottle.
No, we were
exactly.
Right. And we were talking about the millennials and their PBRs and stuff like that. I find, like I say, this is a good gateway craft beer for those millennials drinking that $2 and $3.
And that brings
PBR,
up the point that I was about to make. This and gateway can be kind of used as a whatever term or an excuse for a beer to be okay but not great. This is a great beer that I think just about anybody drinking a macro brew could go, I get this,
Right, exactly. And people, as you said, gateway, people who are not accustomed to the macro brews, this is a way for them to enjoy something that's got a great deal of flavor, but without having some of the bitterness that some of the IPAs and other beers can have that might set them back just a little bit.
This beer also does a few things that you won't get from a macro brew. First off, the malt forwardness on this is so wonderful and smells so good that that you don't get that, like, your beer's a little warm stink in the air after. After
no, that's absolutely right. And I will say,
the other thing is, it tastes fine warm, but when it's cold, it goes down so incredibly smooth. And your carbonation is right on too.
Yes,
like the carbonation
absolutely.
when it's cold is just about chuggable right there.
And I'm going to say something very scientific here. It doesn't do something that a lot of cream ales do that I don't particularly like. And that is, and here's the scientific part, that with a lot of cream ales, after I drink them, I want to go, like there's something.
Like a film?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's it. And this doesn't do that at all. Like it just washes down.
It's a very clean finish,
and it's got a wonderful finish to it, and it just I love it. This is a favorite that stays in the refrigerator here at the studio.
Except for today.
Except for today,
Except
yes.
for today.
But I have to mention that this is a taller can than I'm used to.
Well, and I will. So while you can still grab the, we're getting more of these right now.
I see Ian's doing a grab as we speak. Ian, my glass has
He needs a little
an issue.
topper.
Yes.
No, we do sell the
I
12
just
ounce
needed
can.
it for the beer opening.
I love it.
So there
Okay,
you
good.
go.
Well, now that it's open.
No, we do sell the 12 ounce cans in major grocery stores, but these 16 ounce cans are going to start finding at local concert venues.
Oh, wow.
They are now on sale at Minute Maid Park. So if you want to
Nice.
go to Minute Maid
Awesome.
Park and grab a 16 ounce Buckle Bunny. You can also get it in draft form at Torchy's Taco up there as well.
Yes.
So these are been made to order for the concert goers, the entertainment goers. You may see these down the road in stores as well, but
That'd be awesome because they're so pocket friendly.
oh yeah.
So I want to go back to when we talked about you guys rolling out into stores from the from having been available only at the brewery brand into stores. From a the perspective of someone watching this happen, whatever you guys did, you totally did it right. The stores seem to embrace you, both the the beverage stores, the Specs and other locations, and the grocery stores seem to embrace you. And I remember thinking, and again, I don't want to, I love your product, but I remember thinking when it first came out, okay, they got Buckle Bunny and Mini Boss into the grocery stores. If they're lucky, they'll be able to keep Buckle Bunny down the road, even after the stores, move on to something else. Buckle Bunny will take hold because it's, and you guys have proved me totally wrong. You not only have both of those still in the store, but I'm seeing them carrying like all of your other stuff too. How'd you accomplish that? You're a little company.
Yeah.
Grocery stores cut big deals with big beverage companies.
Sure. No, I mean, I'll tell you how we went about doing that. We obviously started building these relationships in the community and with all these local partners well before we were even getting into that stage of canning and being distributed in the stores. It was something that I don't think we're looking to do this early. I mean, it kind of just happened rapidly, and the success of it helped us move quite quicker. But, we started building these relationships. We didn't let go of these relationships. Even today, we're still very much on the ground in these stores, working with them, helping to sell the product. And I think, that sometimes can be a factor. You get your beer out there, you give it a good pop, you're out there supporting it, and then you just let it ride on its own. And we want to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, keep the pops going.
And so
yeah.
we started doing that. I mean, what it's resulted in is 2 SKUs on shelves. We had Mini Boss and Buckle Bunny at first. We can't seem to keep them on shelves. It seems to move quite rapidly in all locations, to which now we then released our third item, mostly Harmless in cans, which is actually a seasonal release. And as we roll out every 3 or 4 months, we'll have a new seasonal release. The next one we have coming up is our Mandarina Pills Wow Factor.
Nice.
That'll come out as well. But you're going to start seeing more of our product on shelves as time goes on. We did a very strategic plan to build up for this. And instead of creating a big boom up front, releasing everything out the gate, we decided to release it very slow.
I think that's so smart.
With Mini
yeah.
Boss, Buckle Bunny being our 2 staples always in the
it was
stores,
easier for the stores to give you 2 SKUs
Absolutely.
than it would have been if you'd come in and said, "Okay, we're releasing the stores,
we need
and we
six
have 6
SKUs,
SKUs."
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Right.
That does
But
make sense.
We did that too in the same aspect to create a relationship, create a drive around our beer, and show these retail locations that we're not just a one pop.
Right.
We can come out here and bring out a new style every few months and kill it, and they are loving us because of it. And not to say anything about any other brewery that's doing this. They're a lot of the craft beers in Houston are starting to can as well. Craft breweries in Houston starting to can. Platypus just started canning.
Right.
11 Below's out there now, and so they're all doing very well, and we're all out there supporting each other, make sure our cans stay on shelves. And
I love that.
Together,
in spite of the competition for
Right.
shelf space and what have you, there does seem to be a bit of a camaraderie among, at
Absolutely.
least in this area.
If you've ever been to one of the stores where you have a couple of the companies at the same time, it's fun to watch because they all get along.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're drinking each other's beers, sneaking them underneath the table. Now,
I love that.
No, it is. I think even when I joined the industry about a year ago, I came in with the idea that this was all a rat race. We were all trying to get to first, and I was shot down quickly on that. And like, no, this is a community.
It's almost like a community.
Yeah. And we are all we do a lot of collaboration events together. We do collaboration beers together.
I
We do
love
all
that
kinds of
idea
stuff.
very, very much,
Yeah.
and I love seeing that happening. So, all right, I want to talk when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk mostly Harmless and what may be such a cute illustration that it's cuter than even the bunny. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention your IPA.
Mini Boss.
The Mini Boss. Not only is it a really great beer and instantly became one of my 3 or 4 go-tos for IPA because I love IPA. Yours is right in the zone that I like, which is a little crisper, not like super heavy hops, but got a little of the citrus vibe to it. So you were right in my wheelhouse for taste. Not only that, but it instantly became my favorite can of all time. Because it says all your hopper belong to us, which references the
Moon and Knight.
greatest internet meme of all time. And I've worked in the corporate world for so much of my career. I could just imagine in most places coming in with the idea, guys, here's what we do. We put this little 8-bit looking character on the can, and we say all your hopper belong to us, and have people looking at you like you need a box to gather your things on the way out. I mean, and yet somehow this actually got to market with you guys, and what that said to me about the culture of Eureka Heights was something that made me an instant fan.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think is really good. Just the fact that nobody said, nah, that's too stupid. We can't do that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, we've gotten people too that say like, "Oh, that's grammatically wrong," even on the can. It's actually a reference from
a video game.
Yeah.
And so it is. For those that get it, really appreciate it.
Right.
And for those that don't, we have to explain it to them, but we're happy to. Yeah.
So anybody that doesn't know it, like, and some people might not have heard this, just Google. All your baser belong to us.
Yes.
And there'll be videos that you can look up.
Songs.
And songs. And there's all kinds of stuff. And so you'll know what it's all about. So anyway, great beer, great packaging, and then you came out with Mostly Harmless, which is a whole other story. So we'll get to that
Sweet.
in just a couple of moments. Plus, we still have it, folks. The 7 Rules of Cigar Lounge Etiquette will come right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
Yeah.
I love the little mini box.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Doing a very beer-centric show today and loving it. We haven't done a real craft beer-focused show in a while. So,
it has been a while, hasn't it?
So I'm really glad to be able to do this, and everything is tasting so good. It's show number 138, Eureka Heights in the house, and we are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston, in the shops at Clear Fork and Fort Worth. And, I can't let a whole show go by without saying bacon, bacon, bacon.
Bacon.
Have the bacon. It's the most unnaturally wonderful thing
from B&B.
Oh man, have I ever?
It's,
That's why I'm speechless right now.
It's just such a wonderful thing. There are a handful of things that are really, really wonderful, and that is one of them.
That's-
you
yeah,
just
it's pretty
gotta, you
amazing.
just got to go there. So, hey, want to give out big congratulations to a craft brewer because they made it into what I guess is now the biggest movie of all time, Avengers Endgame.
Nice.
So, have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen
Okay,
it
so I'll
yet.
be careful not to spoil
I've
it.
seen
So have
it,
you seen
yeah.
it? Okay, so I'll just say there's a scene that you're going to enjoy that involves Thor and beer.
Nice.
And when they show up at Thor's house, he and some friends are there, and they're having beers. I can say this without that
Sure.
being a spoiler.
Yeah, I
right?
don't think it's a spoiler.
Okay, and the beer actually turns out to be craft beer, and it's very, very kind of exciting. Was particularly exciting for Creature Comforts Brewing Company
Nice.
because Thor is drinking their beer in the movie.
I wonder if they
Awesome.
paid for that.
Apparently, according to this article that I've read, they actually did not pay for it. The Avengers people came to them and asked if they would send them beer.
Wow.
The people
That's
doing the
pretty cool.
movie.
Now, that's
and they
awesome.
did, yes. So it's a pretty it's a pretty thing. They said the beer kind of became a thing around the set apparently, and so the movie's producers decided to put it in, and it got into the hands of some of the higher ups. They said obviously they knew they had a need for beer in the storyline, so they had no idea though how prevalent it would be. And so later on, there's this scene where Thor decides that he's joining up with some new companions. I'm trying not to spoil
It's
this.
hard.
right?
Yeah, you're
totally
you're
ruining it.
teetering
Okay,
on
no,
the.
no, I'm not messing this up. No. Listen, Thor decides he's going to hang out with some new people, right?
Okay.
And they're trying to convince him to do so, and they say, "We've got beer." And so the people from Creature Comforts were like, "Oh, I hope it's our beer. Oh, I hope it's our beer," because they knew they'd already seen in the earlier scene, right? And turns out it was another one of their beers.
Nice.
When the beer was shown. So they're all very happy, and I don't blame them. And I mean, this is a piece of pop culture history
That's
right
awesome.
here because
Awesome.
Endgame is like the biggest movie
Yeah.
like ever, I guess. So
Yeah, I think
of
I
all
actually
time.
am the only person that hasn't seen
I
it.
thought you were gonna go.
We didn't
Ian,
have a
I
chance.
feel like it's a better
Very-
advertisement than a Super Bowl commercial.
Yeah,
at this point.
I think it
Pretty
would
amazing,
have to be.
yeah.
Yeah. What's really interesting about Endgame is the almost total lack of negativity. Like every time something gets really popular, there is created an almost immediate sort of a backlash, pushback. And at least so far, I haven't encountered a lot of that for Endgame. I mean, there's always haters, but you know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
It seems like it's almost universally liked. And that's a crazy hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Crazy hard thing to do. So anyway, congratulations to Creature Comforts. That's a big feather in their cap.
This beer is mostly harmless.
Yes, it is. And Ian, if you wouldn't mind, let's make sure that the beer cam has a good shot at that. So this may be the I don't know, the cutest beer friendliest of all time. The little dolphin with the towel on.
Do you know the reference to that?
No, I
It
don't know
says
what that is.
a hoppy pale of very little thread.
A very little thread.
That's
Yeah.
a
So-
very Douglas Adams thing right
right.
there.
Yeah, so is that the reference? Is it
So
Douglas Adams?
actually,
reference?
well, it's a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy
Okay.
reference.
That's why he has the towel.
That's why he's got the
Don't
always
forget your
bring a towel. Yeah. Don't forget your towel. But yeah, so as you may see, all of our beers are associated with their own character for the most part, and we want you to associate yourselves with that character too. You have a favorite beer, rep your character. Mini Boss still reigns supreme, but
right, that's a
yeah.
great character. Yeah.
But mostly Harmless is a very popular beer, not to mention a popular character of ours as well. It does come from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book, and I guess movie, if you will. But this one is a very light, refreshing pale ale. I like to always refer to it as if you're not into IPAs, this is one to help you along into
Right.
appreciating that. It's got the hoppiness that an IPA, but not too overwhelming. It's actually the same ABV as Buckle Bunny. It's
Right.
a 4.5, which is you drink it. I'm always surprised by that too.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
this should be like a 7 point.
Right.
Right.
Well, most of the time, a pale ale or an IPA
Sure.
is in the neighborhood of 7, unless
Right.
it's a double or an imperial. Yeah.
So it's very sessionable, crushable, if you will. And it's a great flavored beer. Got a good citrus taste to it.
It's
German malt.
interesting on the nose because it immediately smells like a very light IPA.
Right.
Like
right. Right.
It will actually fool you when you put it up
Right.
to your nose and think that's going to be an IPA.
But, there is enough hop bitter on the finish that this definitely is a step beyond the Buckle Bunny.
Absolutely.
Like my friends that don't like that sort of hop bitter, I don't necessarily send them here. I send them to the Buckle Bunny
Sure.
instead. But this is like for when you're ready for that next step and you want just that little bit more, flavor creeping in there, but you still want something, very crushable.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. No, it's a tasty beer for sure, and probably one of our top 3 or 4 sellers.
So that's so interesting to me because I didn't know when it first came out and I tasted it, I loved it, but I didn't know how it would do. I thought, is there a niche for this in the in the lineup? And let me ask you this question: You've obviously got Buckle Bunnies, I think probably your bestseller or close to your bestseller. But what happens when you come out with Mostly Harmless? Does Buckle Bunny take any kind of a hit in sales?
It doesn't.
Does it cannibalize another of your own brands?
It doesn't. I think we were all very curious to see what that would do, and it didn't. I think it only created more excitement. So those people that were coming in to buy Buckle Bunny also are picking up a Mostly Harmless now too.
Interesting.
We see a lot of.
It's a good foil to it though. It's good. Like I'll have one of these. And I generally to back up what you said. I generally have a few flavors of beers in my fridge. Outside of, I have my fridge where I store all my bigger beers.
Your beer fridge. You've been telling me about this beer fridge. Yes.
But
Beer vault.
it's not as nice as Joel's. His you can walk into.
He's got to walk into your vault.
But anyway, that one's like this room. But no, it's when I have beers that are sessionable beers and stuff. I usually have a few flavors in the fridge because sometimes I want to go here and sometimes I want something to break it up a little bit. So I think that the Mostly Harmless is a nice foil to this because it has a lot of the similar upfront malt profile, but then it has that different finish on it too.
Right, and it really is a great way. I often think about this like people are becoming more interested in finding beers that are not, going to just keep adding huge amounts of pounds to the waistline. That's becoming more and more a thing.
Oh, yeah.
Sessionable beers and beers that are light enough that you feel like you can have a few and you're not going to be, really struggling at the gym tomorrow just to work off the beer you had last night. And so the challenge has been making those beers taste good. Because light beer has been around for a long time. But as we know, when we did like our light beer blind taste test, like there's not that many great tasting light beers out there. So to see so many companies so successly wading into this area of beers that are like a little bit lower
The
carbs,
cream ale,
a little bit
the
lower
lagers, those things.
calories, but that are still very flavor forward. I mean, this is so encouraging.
Well, you're right on the low-cal beer selections. It's coming back from a conference a couple weeks ago, finding out that spiked seltzer waters are really
That's so
creeping
interesting.
up and kind of eating beer sales because people are looking for a low calorie alcohol option,
Well,
and it's killing it right now.
I will say a secret of mine for a long time has been Topo Chico with lime and vodka.
Yeah.
It's delicious and light and tasty and low calorie. So
You know what? Dripping
Seltzer water
Springs
makes sense.
vodka and ice is pretty much just fine by itself.
yes,
Sure.
you're absolutely right
Yes.
again. You got a good point there. But
Like, it's
a great
but
combo.
I enjoy a little bit of carbonation so that so that can make it good because I have a tendency to drink it faster, so it's good to dilute it. So a very interesting list has come out. Based again on another one of these surveys and studies. Wouldn't you love to be one of the companies that does surveys and studies? They apparently are never out of work, these companies.
Obviously
They're
not.
constantly out there doing these things. They have listed for us the top 12 factors consumers consider when they're choosing a craft beer. And they were trying to learn more about it. So it's the C+R research company. They recently surveyed 2,000 Americans over the age of 21 who identify as regular alcohol drinkers. They asked how regularly people are drinking craft beer. Study found that 49% of the respondents drink craft beer at least once a week. The study also found that 94% are drinking more craft beer now than they were 1 year ago. Now, that's a pretty interesting number. So the most preferred style of craft beer was currently IPA, with 41% of respondents visiting a brew pub or brewery at least once per month. Does that make sense to you based on what you see, that people...
I mean,
come there once a month,
if not more. We do have a loyalty program at the brewery, and we ask people to check in when they come into the brewery. It's something new we've started a couple weeks ago, and we're finding that there are people that have checked in 4 or 5 times in the last 2 weeks.
Interesting, yeah.
Again, it doesn't. I think it's not. Sometimes it's not all because of the beer. It's because of the environment.
The atmosphere.
Yeah, and so you're finding people coming in from numerous things. Just for a quick beer after work, or for a birthday party, or just for trivia nights or something of that nature. So I can say probably maybe on the average person that is not quite the connoisseur of craft beer, but looking for that type of product or environment, they might be coming in once or twice a month.
I think that what you guys have, though, is you guys have found a market where you have a lot of people that would probably, without your place there, be people that would go to a bar or something like that. But you've got kind of a richer environment.
I was just going to ask, do you think this is having a negative impact on the bar scene?
It has to, because it's like a bar in a lot of, and not every bar obviously, but your typical bar in general, dive bar or whatever, your neighborhood bar, is just some little place where the lights are kind of low and you're sitting in there talking and there's a jukebox. Whereas you can go down to somewhere like Eureka Heights that has, they have the beanbags boards, they have yoga, you guys had a riding bull there.
We did.
Or a mechanical bull there a while back. I mean, you have food trucks.
And don't sell it short. Brian just checked in on the comments and said it's definitely the bathrooms.
It's definitely.
We have a poster up saying we have the best bathrooms in Houston.
There's that. I mean, there's so many things going on, the video games and everything else. And then you have such a nice open atmosphere. Like, you guys are not a dank little dive bar. You guys are a big open building. And you have not only that, but you have the main room where the bar is. You have a secondary room where you have events a lot of times. You have another area where you had the mechanical bull. I can't stop talking about the mechanical bull. Then you have an
apparently
outside.
This made quite an impression.
We need to install that thing too for full year-round use.
You had an outside downstairs area, and then you just turned that tiny little parking lot that was upstairs into its own area. So you've got all these different zones, which is really nice, because some places, like, you walk into a place, the music's a little too loud. Can I get away from it? Can I go somewhere else where I can talk? Can I, those or you got groups of people here and groups of people. It's really nice to just have a place where you can go find a spot.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a believer in the whole survival of the fittest mentality. And so what I would hope is that if the popularity of brew pubs and breweries that are becoming regular destinations for people to go and drink and hang and have a good time. Hopefully, it's not killing the good bars. Hopefully, it's just killing the shitty ones.
Well, we're helping.
Well, you
that
can bring
out.
the family too. So if you're
that's
mom
true.
and dad and you got a couple kids, they've got stuff the kids
and here's
can
the
run
thing
around
too. When you talk about it maybe hurting the bars. A lot of the breweries too, we don't stay open that late. We stay open until 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
So the casual afternoon drinkers or ones out there with their families are going to go home, and then those night owls are going to go out to the bar. So
that's a good point.
We try not to hurt the business of our surrounding businesses and bars, as well as the ones out around town, by closing our doors a little early, not being open on Mondays and Tuesdays. We do get a lot of traffic through the brewery, but we don't want to hurt the people that are selling our beer as well.
So before we take a break, in order of highest to lowest, the most important factors when people choose a craft beer. 12 of them on the list. We'll see what you think.
I don't think there's 12 different things when I buy a beer.
I don't either, but these are what was listed. Number one was taste. Now that makes total sense to me that would be number one.
Sure.
You're going to buy the beer you think tastes the best. That's going to be your favorite. Number two is style, and what they mean by that is like stout or IPA or pale ale or cream ale or whatever.
Not having a bow tie on the can.
Right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Number four is mountains to tell you if the beer is cold. No, I'm
Yes.
kidding. I totally made that up.
I'm like,
That is-
you kidding?
no, that is completely
me
not
going.
true.
No, that was brilliantly
That was
placed.
completely not true. In fact, that didn't make the list. I
Yeah,
know
why
you
are your
know
cans not cold activated?
Yeah.
By the way, what is wrong with
we're working
your
on
brewery?
that technology.
Yeah. What if the towel slipped off
Well,
of the dolphin when the can turned
You have to
cold?
download the app, and the Wi-Fi enabled in the can will tell you if it's cold or not.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Well played.
Number 3 is actually price, and that makes total sense to me that would be fairly high on the list. Number 4 is the brewery. So there is some real brewery
Loyalty,
beginning to happen. And if you think of like some of the craft brewers like the Dogfish Heads and the Stones and some of those guys, you can see that there is some, as an IPA guy, I'll try anything that Stone puts out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I have that level of loyalty.
And as a
to-
person who likes ridiculous beer, I'll try anything that both of those companies put out.
right, exactly. Hey, but that would be some of that loyalty
Yes.
that you're talking about. Number 5, believe it or not, alcohol percentage. So I don't know whether that means high or low. I suppose
So
it means
I have a friend of mine.
Oh.
He might be the singer in my band. And he used to not buy beer unless it was like 8% or above, right?
well,
Like he just wouldn't buy it.
he didn't want to waste time.
So Devil's Backbone was one of his go-to
Right,
because it
right,
was
right.
like it's like $8 for a 6-pack of 8%
fairly
above.
high 8%. Yeah.
But now he's on a diet, so everything he buys has to be like 4.5%
that's
or
what-
below.
So this totally figures into exactly what we were talking about. That both the high and the low.
The high and the low.
Yeah, I
very
think it
much,
could be
yeah.
either
figures
or.
into this for number 5. Number 6 is the brewery location. Now this is really interesting because what I assume that means is it's people supporting local. But I wonder if that even extends to neighborhood.
And
I
what
would
about
say
easy in
so.
and easy out? too?
Right, absolutely.
Plenty of parking. You
Yeah,
know.
Right.
parking
Yeah,
has a
stuff
lot
like
to do with
that.
that. I would
But
have
if
to
you
say.
live in the Heights in Houston, are you going to be most interested in the breweries that are in your neighborhood as opposed to, say, ones that are in, Conroe? And if you're in Conroe, you may be more loyal to those breweries than
Right,
you are to
right.
breweries in the Heights
Well,
or Midtown.
something you can ride a bicycle or walk to.
Yeah,
or,
or easy Uber,
right, easy Uber.
And as of now, I mean, I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're the only craft brewery in the Heights now since Town and City are no longer. They're now a cider company.
See, that's
yeah.
crazy because I would think the Heights would be where all the craft breweries
You would think so,
in
yeah.
Houston would be. But, you got East Downtown, you got, a lot
spread
of other
out.
hot locations. So very interesting. Number 7 is packaging and branding. So this makes sense to me. In fact, I might have even expected it to be a little
Up higher, yeah.
Yeah, because very much your first impressions of a beer. When I'm standing in the beer department as Specs, which is, about 3-4 times the size of this room if I'm downtown, you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of different choices. And it's very often packaging that leads me to what I decide to try. I don't know if that's
I go
shallow.
for style first and then
Yeah.
packaging second.
So style meaning you're
Yeah.
going to try
I'm gonna go to
a particular kind of beer.
I'm going to go to a store and go, I want a sour. And so
Right,
I'll go to
right.
the sour section and
Right.
start looking at varieties that way. And I mean, it's hard not to say that the can itself doesn't draw attention and want to make you buy something. Our cans are not very busy, but as again, referencing the characters on there helps
Right.
sell these cans too.
Absolutely.
For those that don't know about us or have never heard of our beer or even been to our brewery, they look at that bunny or that dolphin and like, oh, that's cute. I wonder what that's about.
Number 8, and I admit I fall right into this one, available in bottles.
Really?
Sorry, Ian. This is an ongoing tug of war between Ian and me because he prefers beer in cans. I
Can
prefer it in
good.
bottles.
Bottle,
Yeah.
meh.
Now, in fairness, some of my favorite beers in the world come only in cans. But if I were to choose, I would choose for beer to be in bottles instead of cans.
Well, so for me, like if I'm at home drinking a beer,
Yeah.
whether it's in a bottle or a can,
Doesn't
I'm
matter.
almost
You're gonna-
always going to pour it into a glass.
Well, that's why the can thing doesn't bother me. 'Cause
Almost
I'm
always.
generally almost always go. I actually do not like drinking beer out of a can. I don't
No?
enjoy that. Yeah.
I'm about it. I'm
but if
fine
I'm
with
pouring
it.
it
Easy
in,
around it, I'm
if
good
I'm
to go.
pouring it into a glass, I'm fine.
I'm fine. I'm fine around it. But frankly, I just think beer tastes fresher out of a can. Like I just think there's
So
less possibility for it to be what's the word I'm looking for?
Skunky.
Skunky,
Yeah,
yeah.
skunky or
Exposed to
just-
any light.
Yeah, anything like that to be violated. But I just think cans are just a better deal too.
Number 9 is pairs with food.
That I agree with.
This is becoming a bigger and bigger deal. We've talked about this at length on the show, but pairing beer with food didn't used to be a thing.
We've come
it's
a
thing
long
now.
way from beer and pizza.
Right.
Like, people are
No,
getting
you're right.
a little more specific
guys,
than that
I'm doing.
nowadays.
I have a sold out beer and cheese pairing class happening next week. I mean, this is a real thing. Like, I mean, it's being talked about on all the social media networks, all those BuzzFeeds and Thrillist
I
and
love
stuff
that.
like that. It's a new beer and food pairing
Something
culture.
we've done very interestingly on the show, almost by accident, is occasionally when we're tasting spirits, the pairing of the beer with
beer and
the
the spirits,
spirit
yeah.
and how one impacts the other and what flavors they bring out on each other. It's a very interesting thing.
Yeah.
Number 10, available in draft. I am a huge fan of draft, as long as the people who are pouring the beer on draft know what they're doing,
As
they've
I have
had
a
a visit from
kegerator at
Mark.
my house,
Yeah.
I will find the best beer and one of my favorite beers that they have, like up at Specs, and I will just buy the keg of it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And some people are like, "Well, you can drink that much of the same beer?" Oh yeah.
That answer would be yes.
When it's that good, yeah.
That answer would be right. When it's that good, that's the thing. And so, Ian and I barely knew each other, but my wife had known him for a long time, and we wound up going to his wedding. And so I'm standing at his wedding, and there's the big keg of beer, and I'm like actually, doing the little thing and pouring out some beer. And I went to, I was like, this is the greatest wedding I've ever been to. There's actual really good beer at his wedding, because usually when you're siphoning it out of the keg, it's not as good as that was. That was a good
I've
thing.
gone to more weddings lately now that instead of having a liquor bar, have craft beer bars.
It's becoming much more of a thing.
Yeah.
Much more of a thing. Number 11 is sizing. So I guess that refers to, like the size of the cans
Bang
or
for your buck.
right, getting a bang for your buck.
Did you know, speaking of bang for your buck, it is actually cheaper to buy 2 6-packs of Lone Star Tall Boys than it is to buy 1 12-pack of Lone Star 12-ounce cans.
And the tall boys, and basically that's
How long did you sit in the aisle and did that math?
Took me a while.
Yeah.
finally number 12. Ian, this one's for you. Available in cans. So it does go both ways.
I don't not buy a beer because it's in bottles. I just actually prefer cans generally. So if, for instance, if I walk up and see, like, St. Arnold Springbok was available in bottles and cans, I'll buy
You'll
the cans.
take the can. And see,
I've
I
just
would
almost always
I
done
would
the can.
completely go the other way. That's,
Well-
yeah.
And in a can, the sunlight hasn't hit it. It just hasn't been, hasn't had any issues. So.
Well, and I would go the can route myself only because of its durability to travel.
Yeah.
I
will
camped
grant
a
you
lot
that.
and all that
I
stuff.
will grant you that.
Also, all the good reasons about cans that bottles suck. That's what we're talking about.
Let's not give them hell.
I will take that as a good cue to wrap the segment up, and we will take a very quick break. When we come back, Ian, tell me again about the whiskey you brought us today. This is the
Glen Scotia Double Cask.
Oh, it's the double cask. That's right. Oh, yes. So really excited to taste this. Plus, as promised, the 7 rules of cigar lounge etiquette in the next segment. You are watching and listening to Smoking and Toasting.
Make sure you take Beano. The Blackout Vipers.
Yeah, what kind of music?
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Show number 138 is in progress, and we are excited to have Eureka Heights in the house today. Wanted to mention a couple quick things from the comments. Wiki Brian wanted to know if I'm done talking about in-game, which I was, but now I think I should probably talk about it more.
Let's bring it back.
Just to be annoying. And also wanted to give a huge shout-out and lots of love to my buddy Maria Todd, who is listening and who just did one of those nice little, this is a great podcast if we want to learn more about beer and spirits and cigars.
She's pretty awesome.
Maria is awesome. And easily in the top 5 funniest people on the planet.
She actually was
will
on
stand by that.
on
She's
our blind
hilarious.
light beer tasting.
Yes, she's actually been on both of them. And
Yes.
she was, and Maria's not a big craft beer connoisseur.
Not at all.
She likes
She's very much about the macro brew.
The macro brews and stuff. And she was
I don't hold that totally against her.
And she was but she was a great balance to have on because she doesn't come at beer the same way that you or I would. So yeah, she was great and obviously very funny. And Maria is absolutely awesome. So while you, Ian, what links did you go to get the cork coming out of the bottle sound effect today?
Well, it's pretty amazing. What I actually had to do is go buy a bottle that had a cork in it.
Right.
And then I put it up to a microphone, and I actually here, I'll try and do this again. Right?
Okay.
Let's see if we can make this happen. This is something you just have to be real careful about how you make these sound effects.
Don't try this at home, or do. See,
pretty amazing.
Yeah, amazing how much
sounds
that
like a real thing.
I love how good
it was
smells.
amazing how much it sounded.
Yeah,
like
it sounds
an
incredibly
actual cork
authentic
coming
when
out.
you actually buy a real bottle and pull the cork off of it.
So while you are pouring the Glen Scotia, Ian, let me lay this on you from Maxim Magazine: The 7 Rules of Cigar Lounge Etiquette. And I have a feeling this is going to be ridiculous, but
laugh incredibly loud.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I agree.
Talk about Avengers Endgame.
Talk about Avengers Endgame as much as possible. Number one, I actually totally agree with this. Do not smell or lick a cigar. Don't. That one really got you.
Okay, so I was at the New Potato one night. I was hanging out there and I'm chatting with this young guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I like cigars. I've smoked a few here and there. I really enjoy them." I said, "Well, here, I'll lay a cigar on you. You know, cigar smokers are like that. We'll just put a cigar on you." And I'm sitting there talking with him and this other lady about cigars, and as I'm chatting, he takes the cigar and he puts the entire cigar, deep throat style, in his mouth and then draws it completely out through his lips.
I saw somebody do that like about a week ago.
And she looks at him. She goes, "Are you supposed to do that to a cigar?" I said, "Well, I think that's a personal."
Yeah, but I think it's a personal
thing.
choice. Yes.
No,
And
you're not
talent?
supposed to lick a
Well,
cigar. You're not supposed to lick a cigar.
Yeah. Our buddy Alan Denny, who nobody cares about.
Nobody cares about that.
Once was working for a cigar shop. It was how he got into the cigar industry. And I believe, Alan, I apologize if I'm crediting this story incorrectly, but I believe it was him that told me this, that they would have to watch this one guy that would come in because he would go into the walk-in humidor. He would smell and then lick the cigars and then maybe decide that wasn't the one he wanted and put it back in the box. So that's really awesome. But even if it's your own cigar, that's rule number 1. Don't smell or lick your cigar. I don't think there's anything wrong, by the way, with
I don't know.
with taking
Once you
little
own the
smell of
cigar,
something.
and that being said, like this kid that I'm talking about, I gave him the cigar. You can do what you want with it after that. Okay?
Well, but it's etiquette. It's etiquette.
But that's a little weird.
Yeah.
I heard that who deep throats a cigar on a normal basis? That's so bizarre.
I don't know.
Someone trying to show off.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Perhaps.
Maybe somebody told him you have to do. I don't.
Number 2, never blow smoke in someone's face. Keep in mind there are others around you while smoking. Although it's normal to be around smoke, it's not okay to be consistently blowing smoke in the direction of a fellow smoker. Now, see, that just seems like wouldn't everyone know that?
If I'm out and about and I notice cigar smoke is going right towards a specific person, I will actually. Do you want to trade seats?
Or I'll just turn around and exhale the other way. That's a good way to do it. The next one is number 3. Do not smash out your cigar in an ashtray. Nope. Now, this is a pet peeve of mine. I hate when people do this because, number 1, it creates a much fouler kind of smoke, and number 2, it lets me know, like you don't have to do that. The cigar will go out. You don't
just sit it there.
Have to mess with that.
It goes out on its own, and it's neat, and guess what? It doesn't sit there and smolder. When you smash it out, it actually smolders for a long time.
Do not let your cigar ash spill over on people. Unless you're participating in a long ash contest, you should always respect your cigar lounge.
I got to tell you, I'm a victim of myself. Like my cigar ash spills over on myself all the time.
Right.
Because I do like to have the long ash. I like the coolness of the way it smokes. But I victimize myself with that all the time.
I will tell you, from being outside and smoking outside, I have ruined so many pairs of shorts and sweatpants.
Yeah, all it takes is that one little hot ember.
One little hot ember. Yep.
This is the first time I've worn it.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly when it happens.
It's like wearing any knit shirt around my cat. Like there's one wear and it's done.
All right, now this one I think maybe we need to talk about. I think it's good that they put this in there. Never take your own cigars to a cigar lounge.
No.
Now there's a an unspoken rule here, but not everybody may know this. Like, it's really not a cool thing to do. Now, the only
How many bars let you walk in with your own beer?
There you go. It's a perfect example. Right. I will say, though, if you have a locker at the cigar lounge and you have purchased those cigars previously from this establishment, it is totally okay to go to your locker and get something. But this is about not bringing in your own cigar that you ordered from JR online and bringing it in and taking advantage of the facilities from your favorite local smoking lounge.
Well, so
Just
a
not a
smoking
cool thing to
lounge,
do.
much like a bar, relies upon sales to stay open. They don't, if you're sitting in a smoking lounge and you bring your own cigar and your own drinks and everything, then you're basically soaking up their electricity, their business, and you're not giving anything back whatsoever, which is just not right for a business.
Right.
So, go buy a cigar. I'll be honest with you. I don't go out to a lot of cigar shops and buy a bunch of boxes. I'm not that customer, unfortunately. They're not making a ton of money on me all the time. I like to buy a few individual cigars every time I go into a shop, which is probably a little more expensive on my side and leads to my humidor being quite the cornucopia.
Yes, I love that.
But what I will tell you is if I go to a cigar shop, I always go in and buy a cigar there because that's how they're going to make money, even if it's one cigar.
It's absolutely right. When we do a show, both of us, when we do a show at a cigar store somewhere, at a cigar line, both of us will always hit the humidor and make a purchase before we leave. It's just common courtesy.
Yeah, it's how they stay open. If you like that business, then that's how you keep it there.
And I enjoy smoking the cigars later when I get home, so it works out for everyone.
Right.
Yeah. The next one I almost don't want to read because it just seems like duh. Always cut and light a cigar properly. That's just good advice for anybody. And if you don't know how to cut or light a cigar, we'll go back and do a cigar 101 segment again.
See number 2. Do not lick your cigar.
Right, exactly. It's not that difficult to know how to cut and light a cigar. Now, this one I think needs to be said though, and I think this may be the last one. Yes, it is. Don't be the "I only smoke Cubans" guy.
Wah, wah, wah. Oh, hold on.
Wouldn't you agree with that, though? Because we've all met that guy. Yeah, exactly. We've all met that guy, and he's annoying as hell to be around, and he generally doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I remember this one guy one time who was a friend of mine. He used to tell me, "Oh, I figured it out. Why? I don't like beer. I like ales," and I'm like, "You don't know what you're talking about." Because ales are beer, number one. And number two, what you're trying to say is, I don't like macro brews. I like, things that have more flavor to them. But there's some very, very good lagers out there and some very, very good beers and other styles that are not ales that you probably like a lot. So anyway.
But all ales are beer. Not all beers are ale.
Yeah, but the I only smoke Cubans guy, I mean, that guy's just... he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he's annoying.
Well, you do know that Cubans make the best cigars ever, and there is no other cigar.
There is no other cigar, yeah. And that Cuban that you're holding is probably real. Maybe. Probably. All right, Ian, you have already opened and poured our spirit, so why don't you show that to the show that to the camera. In answer to Brian, we are without our crazy tourney beer and
twirly-gig, Mr. Twirly-gig, as he called it.
Thing. So I think that.
Here's what happens with Mr. Twirly-gig. When we have a guest on the show, we have a choice. We can either put a camera on the guest,
or on Mr. Twirly-gig.
or we can have the beer cam.
Good point.
And so I think what we have decided was that we'd go ahead with a camera on the guest.
Poor choice. Not that attractive.
So the Glen Scotia, tell me about this, Ian, because you brought this from your personal collection.
So this is the only Campbelltown malt that I have. There's
what does that mean?
Well, there's different regions in Scotland that have that make whiskey, and Highland being the most prevalent. Then you got Lowland, you got Campbelltown, you got Islay. This is a Campbelltown, and I actually did a Scotch tasting with Joel not too long ago, and I realized that by region, I did not have a single Campbelltown.
So you went out and
I went and bought one.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is not a particularly high dollar whiskey or anything like that. I think, if I remember correctly, it's 60-ish
Is
or
that
$70-ish bottle. This is the Glen Scotia double cask.
and is that
single
region
malt.
known for a particular attribute? Different
Fruity.
Okay, good.
Fruity.
I was going to say because you get a lot of fruity on the nose. Of this. I haven't tasted it yet.
So some regions are specifically known for very certain things. Like Lowland is very peaty. Highland is generally smoky and other things. But the Campbelltown is known to be very fruity, and this follows up on that. This has a lot of fruit.
This is nice.
This is also, since it's a double cask, this is finished in a sherry cask.
And you can definitely
get
pick
a
up
little
on
of that
yeah.
dry sherry on the end that really, really rounds it out. This does not go well with mostly Harmless, but it goes particularly well with Buckle Bunny, by the way, if you're going to pair the two up. How interesting. It doesn't get along with the hops, I think. The bitterness doesn't.
And that can happen a lot of times,
yeah.
I think, with the fruitier whiskeys, that they don't necessarily mesh with the IPAs.
And this is slightly overproof. This is a 46%, and it's about a medium, almost amber color versus brown. It's a very light and spicy kind of flavor. It's got a richness to it.
It's got a nice burn to it, a nice heat, but it does have great spiciness.
It's a little sweeter than you generally get with a lot of scotches as well, whereas a lot of scotches can have more of that peaty, smoky or dryness. This has just a very big sweet malt bill right up front, and then finishes with I almost want to say like a tangerine kind of twang plus the sherry cask dryness, which is really interesting.
What would you smoke with this? I would think it'd be something lighter. Maybe I'm thinking back to the champagne.
Light to medium. If you go with a full flavored cigar, it'll bury this. It'll bury the nuances in this. You'll still taste it, but it would definitely bury the nuances in this. So I would on this. Let's see, Aladino Maduro would be in the medium range. Probably not the Lancero because that's a little bit bigger tasting.
What about
overall.
the Connecticut?
The Connecticut would go great. Connecticut.
Yeah.
So, by the way, those are out now.
Yes.
And they're available, and I have picked up some, and they're fantastic.
Wonderful.
And that's much like we were talking about, like lagers and the lighter side of beers can be so good. That Aladino Connecticut is outstanding.
And it would work well with this.
It's a very light cigar
because it's a lighter cigar.
Yes,
but very flavorful, and I could imagine this pulling some of that.
And you have
flavor
apple.
and
That's another
complexity.
thing. Apple comes through a lot on this. Is
apple, some dried fruit.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is you get the fruit on the front, and then kind of the heat takes over for a minute, and then you get the fruit again on the finish.
Yeah. This is turned out to be one of my kind of little go-tos when I'm having a lighter cigar, something like that. So other light cigars, like a Fuente Hemingway would go great with this. The Reserva from Julio, sorry, Romeo y Julieta. Sorry, I don't know where I was going.
Right.
And then some cigars like that would be on the nice side. With
and this could also work with a pipe as well, I would think.
Yes, this would work very well. Just nothing too brutally aromatic.
Right.
Or like on the English style tobaccos would work well with this. Something with some leather notes and things like that work well with this. Earthy and leather would work with this.
This is definitely a different
it's not
Scotch.
what you'd expect from what you call Scotch.
Definitely a different Scotch, no question about it.
It even has almost like on the very tail end. It has, and I think they even mentioned it in the on one. Maybe it was on a review or on the website, but it has an almost bourbon kind of smoky on the very, very end, like way in the back of the palate.
Smoky and that little bit of sweet that bourbon can have.
A little smoky sweet.
Sometimes. Nice. I bet Chris Hart would like this.
Which is a little expected because it's, they mature them in bourbon barrels. So
yeah. All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we're going to come back with our final segment. And I'm really excited about this final segment because we have not had this beer before. You said that this just came out. Is that right, Evan?
That's correct. Yeah, it came out last week, I want to say. Yeah.
Very excited. Okay, so we'll be trying the brand new seasonal from Eureka Heights when we come back for our final segment. It's Smoking and Toasting.
what do you think about the Scotch?
It's good.
Asked while we were on there.
It's really good. I'm not a good connoisseur of this, so when you said apple, I'm still trying to search for it.
Oh, so check it out. Take a sip.
On the beach in Hawaii.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we are here to talk about Avengers Endgame. No, I'm just kidding. We're Craft Beer, Fine Spirits, and Hand-Rolled Cigars. Show number 138 with Eureka Heights in the house, and we are brought to you by our good friends and countrymen and bacon lovers to the max at B&B Butchers and Restaurant. By the way, B&B is located at 1814 Washington Ave in Houston. B&B Lemons across the street. It's a wonderful pub. And the steakhouse is also in the shops at Clear Fork in Fort Worth. Ian and I had dinner there with our wives. And honestly, the best steak I've had in at least several years.
So good.
Was the steak that I had that night.
Good.
It was just fantastic. B&B Italia. Thank you, Adam, on the Wheels of Steel is reminding me. B&B BB Italia, I believe, just opened
new one.
downtown Houston. So have not had a chance to try that out yet, but that is on the list. So, Ian, I see you are already showing the beer cam.
I'm playing the role of Mr. Twirly
yes,
right now.
You're doing a great job.
And yeah, you really have stepped up, Ian, and I appreciate that. So this is called So Hot Right Now.
Yeah, so it is. It goes well with the summer heat right now. It also goes well with this type of beer.
It also smells like you just threw a Christmas wreath down in front of me.
It straight up does. Yeah, it's very very aromatic. This New England IPA, or better known as a hazy IPA, is appropriately titled So Hot Right Now because it kind of is, for lack of a better words, the new fad beer. Like, it is the thing that people are all about right now. They like hazy IPA. Either you like hazy IPAs and you're obsessing about it, or you don't.
So
this is orange juice.
yeah, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is my favorite thing you guys have ever
This is my
brewed.
favorite orange juice I think I've ever
It is
drank.
very juicy.
It is
very
This
very
would go
juicy.
incredibly terrible with toothpaste.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Find me a good beer that goes
the
well
beer
with
and
toothpaste.
pairing is definitely not on. No, this is wonderful, and it has the thing that I think some of my absolute favorite juicy IPAs have had, which is it's so juice forward that when the hops come in, they just feel very round and don't leave a lot of bitter.
It doesn't
really wonderful.
leave as much hop as I smell.
It tastes to me
like
like
it's
drinking.
aromatic and kind of a good, like the
Right.
way a good candle can be.
100%, yes.
It's like a fresh glass of
But
grapefruit
the
juice.
problem is, like, there's such a rash of IPAs that are just so hop ridiculous
Right.
that, and they smell a lot like this. So my initial like reaction to this is, ooh, that's too much. But then when you try it, you're right. The hops are rounded on the end. It really does taste like orange juice with a little hop on the end. It's pretty ridiculous. I can't think of anything about this I don't like, actually.
Yeah, what I love about this whole style of IPA is I feel like the whole style and the popularity that started surging on this a year and a half or so ago was a bit of a correction, if you will. You know, like a correction in the market when things
Right.
go too high.
To the West Coast, let's
I
see
think
how much
the West Coast,
bitter we can put
right,
in beer.
let's get as bitter and pine cone resinous hoppy as we possibly can. This was the balancer, was the great equalizer to bring IPAs back, because two things happened. Number one, this whole style exploded and became very popular. And by the way, this is a fantastic entry.
The only thing I
that.
can say down about this, aside from my initial, like, that smells a little too hoppy at first, which it tastes great, the only downside to this is almost entirely too smooth. Like, the bubbles are small and silky on this. It tastes like
It's a-
orange juice.
and
I
it's a
could
bad
slam
thing.
a glass
Why?
of this in such a small amount.
And it's only a 6.5 ABV. It's
That's
not
a good
so
thing
bad.
because-
yeah.
wow.
wow, I could drink.
I think
could
it's
drink that
fantastic.
in, like, no time.
And the other thing that I was mentioning that I love about this particular trend is it has forced, I think, those big hoppy IPAs to balance their flavor more. These days, it feels like when somebody comes out with another one of, with another Imperial IPA and it's, packed with hops, that the flavor has more nuance and balance to it than what we were getting a couple of years ago before this trend kind of balanced things out.
Well, I'm not
So-
going to lie. Like, if I'm going down the beer aisle, like you were talking about going for style, I pass right by IPAs. Like, I don't even see them anymore hardly until I try something that happens to be exceptional. Now, there are exceptions to the rule. There are certain IPAs that are just so good that they break down those barriers for me. This I will definitely look forward to. But
this is something I would
yeah,
seek out.
This is delicious, different, unique. And I bet, like, this is an IPA you can smoke cigars with, even.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's
the
not so bitter,
citrus
right.
is taking the bitter out of the equation.
Right.
And this may be one of the reasons why I'm so fond of this style, is because since IPA is my favorite style of beer, just personally,
And
but
those
so
big pine coney
but
ones
so
don't.
many of my favorites, you can't drink them and then smoke a cigar.
No,
It's not
yellow rose and
not a good
cigars
experience.
are not
Yeah.
the best combination.
But these you can really go. Yeah, you can really go. So when a seasonal like this, you said it just came out. How long is this around?
This is only going to be around for, I would say, 2, maybe 3 months. It really, and it's only sold. You can buy it to go from the tap room only.
Oh,
it's not
man.
sold in accounts, but that's not a bad thing. Come see us. You drink a couple
I'll
of
be
fresh
there. I'll be-
pints and
I'll be
take
there.
a 4-pack
Yeah.
home with you.
Well, the last time I was there, I took home a bottle, mind you, not a can.
Oh yeah.
Of 6 Demon Bag.
Oh,
And I sat and enjoyed that one night by myself. I didn't go anywhere.
that go great with a cigar too.
Oh, it did go great with a cigar. That stuff was amazing.
So first question about the So Hot right now,
Sure.
or any other seasonal brew. Is there a thing that can happen where it's so successful that you guys decide maybe this should be part of our regular lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's coming up, and you'll see that with our Mandarina Pills Wow Factor. Wildly successful last year. It wasn't even packaged; it was only for draft. It
Right.
did so well in the tap room and in a lot of the accounts around town that is going to be our next lineup in our can release coming
Wow.
up in, I want to say, June. Yeah, mid-June it'll be out, and
Cool.
we'll. I think we'll replace Mostly Harmless for the time being in that spot. So Mostly Harmless is being considered right now, and our can release is a seasonal. You may see it later on down the road as a more traditional all year around. But it does, yeah. The Wow Factor is coming out next, and because of its success last year in draft sales, it's coming out for packaged.
I just want to point out, too, I rode on the Eureka Heights MS-150 team. This is the bicycle ride. From
Did you have a good time? It's very important to me.
Yes and no. Let me. I'll tell you a couple quick things about it. First off, we started off the ride. Before we rode, we were all at the starting line, and Steven, our ride leader, ride captain, if you will, came up and he had Mostly Harmless, and we all started by chugging a Mostly Harmless.
Before you started.
Before we started, so this was it. This was it. I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And that was just fine until about 10 miles in. It was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But you get over that pretty quickly, right? Now, to answer the no part of the question, on the first day, by the time I hit the last rest stop, I was really
hurting?
doubting every decision I've ever made in my life.
It's your first time to ride?
No,
Okay.
but it's the first time in about 10 years.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So there was that.
Yep. I understand.
You guys did. I want to tell you, you guys did a great job with the whole tent where everyone stayed and everything like that. There needs to be room for people to change clothes, so they're not doing it under the covers, which is particularly tricky when you're putting on bibs. By the way,
Sure. No, we're updating that for next year for sure. Yeah, we
the food was awesome.
great. Yeah, tacos a go-go, or fajitas a go-go.
The beer was awesome.
Well, you would expect, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had Buckle Bunny and Wicked Awesome. I don't know what else they had, but that's all I needed.
Yeah, we had a couple IPAs out there.
Yeah.
Maybe a
But who cares?
Caliente.
Yeah, Buckle Bunny and Wicked Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so funny little story about that too is everyone has these tents, okay, and they're pretty good sized tents because we had, how many people do we have riding?
40, I think
40
total.
people riding.
Yeah.
We had a whole bunch of them staying in the same tent, and at the back of the tent they had the cooler with the keg set up and everything like that. Well, apparently they're sitting back there at some point and they look over and they see one of the tents that Real Ale was sponsoring. So then, of course, now you have the two breweries and they're swapping beers and having a good old time. That was
Well,
pretty
yeah,
fun.
and then Carbach and St. Arnold too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then everybody decided to come by the tent at some point in time. That was pretty
Really,
fun.
I think maybe a form of hazing. They're like, let's drink all their beer and go back to our tent. But no,
makes sense.
we were stoked to be a part of it for the first year.
That was a
Looking
blast.
forward
You
to
guys
next
did
year.
a great time.
That's
Cool,
awesome.
man. I'm glad
Great
you had a good
job.
time.
Very good thing for you to be involved in too. That's really awesome. Talk to me a little bit about you guys have made your foray into the beer market, at least in the Texas area and predominantly the Houston area, by putting out what I think are really quality I'm going to use this word in quotes, mainstream craft beers. In other words, you came out with a really great cream ale, and you did a really cool IPA, and you a lot of the breweries that I'm noticing around the country that are making names for themselves have a tendency to be doing a lot of that with these very specialty things that come out in bombers or just in the 16-ounce cans.
Are you talking about a Lucky Charms beer too? That may have been that kind of stuff.
But partially that, but I'm also talking about people who are doing really very limited kind of stouts or barley wines or maybe imperial IPAs or things that where they know that
a little more niche,
this isn't the broad market here, but it's a way to make our. Any thoughts of a brewery like Eureka Heights kind of getting into a little bit of that game? St. Arnold, for example, does it with the Divine Reserve thing. They've found a way to do. And I get it. I want to talk about that.
So we have our I want to say our annual release. Generally, it comes out around our anniversary, maybe a little later, called Nuke the Whales. We are on our second variation of it. We are actually today putting the third variation into Woodford Reserve barrels. So we do have that comes out annually. We obviously cellar those bottles too and age them and sell them down the road as well. Their Six Demon Bag, which was our Belgian strong ale that came out. That's another one. We are actually in the process of, and I'm not going to give away the date yet, but a barley wine coming very soon.
So is this something that we should expect more of then?
Absolutely. I think as as a young brewery getting our feet wet, we're 3 years old now in August, coming in August. These are more things that you can probably expect from us.
Well, clearly you're not going to sell as much of a product like that as you're going to of a mostly Harmless or a Buckle Bunny. But I think of it as kind of like, the actor that does the big blockbuster and then he goes and does the indie film to keep his cred intact, right? And then he goes back and does, Die Hard 5 or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like it's a good way for somebody like you guys to be able to go, look what we can do.
Well, you have
to that real hardcore aficionado.
You have to let an artist be an artist.
Right.
If
that's
you have
a good point.
Great brewmeister, especially someone who can brew something like Buckle Bunny, and various styles, like something from Buckle Bunny all the way up to this juicy IPA, which are very different in style. And then Six Demon Bag, and then you gotta let a guy like that just at some point in time, you gotta let him do what he does.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. It's a way to keep the brewmaster happy.
Well, totally.
I mean, you don't hire Nick Cage to act like Samuel L. Jackson. You know what I mean?
Right. Because A, he couldn't do that.
Right.
And B, you'd be hiring Nick Cage,
which is just weird.
And C, what were we talking about?
Well, and I'll
Avengers Endgame. I'm sorry.
Let's give away some more spoilers. No, I will say, every Thursday we do have a pilot batch release.
Yeah,
we do pilot batches all the time and try out different things and experiment.
So this is like even more rare than a specialty brew that you've worked on. This is almost like, hey, we had an idea.
Yeah.
Kind of whip this up. Tell us if we should keep going or not.
We being a small brewery too, we get, every employee gets the opportunity to brew a beer with Casey, our head brewmaster.
That's awesome.
And so my annual beer this year was a Goza that I wanted to taste like duck sauce, which
wow.
Yeah. So
I love that idea.
It is a plum apricot Goza that eventually will be on our pilot batch series.
I want some dumplings right now.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. Yeah.
But so we do kind of.
That's oddly specific, by the way.
Very specific. I've been thinking about this for way too long, and so we do a lot of kind of unique off the wall things too. And if one of them really hits and it works well, we kind of put it into a more regular production.
You just throw it at the Velcro wall and see if it sticks, right?
That's right.
You're never going to learn unless you try, right? Yeah.
Well, I want to say that one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I shared with you today while you're here, and thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure
and doing the show. But your brewery is, I think, part of what makes me really proud to be from here. The fact that we have these things that we feel like you guys do such great stuff that this is something I can talk to my friends who live in other places around the country and go, yeah, but we have Eureka Heights. I feel that way about St. Arnold and
Sure.
a number of the other places that are here. And it's great to be able to take this kind of community pride in what you do. And from the very beginning of this show, when you guys were one of our first guests and we tried stuff that I'd never tried before in those growlers, to now when I can actually walk into HEB and buy Buckle Bunny, it's a pretty cool evolution
When
and a
you
pretty cool path.
can
that you
Wicked
guys
Awesome, I'm going to try to buy every one of them.
Just you wait.
Yeah?
Just you wait.
Anything you can tell us?
Oh yeah, it's on the rotation. You will see it in cans in probably, I wouldn't know, maybe in the 6-7 months.
Is
I
there,
can't wait.
not to go back into a retail question, but is there probably a limit to how many SKUs you can hold? In other words, does putting Wicked Awesome into stores mean you may have to give up another
Yeah,
SKU?
so we, again, going back to Buckle Bunny Mini Boss being our staples, they're always going to remain in stores. But like for mostly Harmless, this is a rotator.
Okay,
So
right.
this, like I said, the Wow Factor will take the place of mostly Harmless. And then at some point down the line, Wicked Awesome will take the place of this.
Nice.
Now,
So when that happens, will I still be able to get this like at a Specs or something, or will it go away for a while?
it will go away for a little while. I'm not going to confirm that it will go away forever.
Okay.
It
So
will.
this for people who aren't in the business,
Yeah.
when we talk about different SKUs, that's basically how many different products you have on a shelf.
Sure.
And every company has to fight for a certain amount of
It's very valuable space.
Yes,
Yeah.
it has to fight for a certain amount of shelf space. And every time you put, like, for instance, if you have space for 3 SKUs, 3 different products, it doesn't matter to the company what those products are as long as they sell, but you have to pick and choose. So, for
Right.
instance, if
What's
you have
gonna
Buckle
fill that
Bunny
the best?
and Mini Boss on 2 of those SKUs, you only have 1 more room
Right.
for that third SKU. So that's just a heads up to the people who are.
So yeah,
following.
no, that's great. No, but yeah, you're gonna see even Mu Caliente is going to make its triumphant return.
Yeah, which that was one of the ones we tried that first time too. Yes.
Yeah, as I don't know if everybody knows, but Mu Caliente was recently removed from its spot on our main list of beers. It's not being made anymore with the exception of a seasonal release. So you're going to only be able to get Mu Caliente in cans and draft during the holidays.
Interesting. Okay.
It is, being that we're in the...
Tell everybody what style Mu Caliente is.
It is a spiced milk stout that is great for cold weather, but
And
not
it's-
for Houston heat.
And when you say spiced, you don't
Yeah.
mean cinnamon.
Oh, I do mean cinnamon.
Yeah, well-
I mean cinnamon. I mean cayenne pepper.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah. It is a
and when you
spicy
say
beer.
not for warm weather, you mean it's good for about a week or 2 in Houston.
and it's styled around a kind of a Mexican hot chocolate. So
Yeah.
it's
Right,
perfect
right.
for that cold weather, and goes great with a December or a
It's
January.
a wonderful to serve at
Yeah.
Christmas parties. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we kind of retired Mu Caliente for a little while. We are going to throw a big going away party for it eventually, and then you'll start seeing it in a seasonal rotation.
That's awesome. Evan Camp is our guest today from Eureka Heights Brewing. Thank you so much. I have to tell you, you have. I won't tell you what you bumped out, but you have bumped into my top 5 with the So Hot right
I'm
now.
honored.
So I have to ask: once the season's over, will this come back ever?
It will come back. I think it's going to come back every year. It may come back in a stronger form. It's doing quite well right now. So yeah, I don't think you're gonna have to miss it.
Okay.
you got to go by the brewery to get
Yes.
You guess where I'm going after the show.
And if anybody doesn't know
it.
about the
Directly affecting
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah.
you don't know
that's
about
right.
the beer to go laws. This is a big proponent around that. You would be
Yes.
able to get this without having, there are certain breweries in Houston that are not allowed to serve beer to go.
Right.
And we're working towards and being advocates for that. We are still very fortunate being a brew pub that we can sell beer to go. So you're still able to get this at Eureka Heights.
But what is really cool that you're saying
Yeah.
is that even though you guys can do it
Right.
because you're classified as a brew pub,
Right.
you're still working and advocating for your competitors
Absolutely.
to be able to do
Absolutely.
it.
It's not
That's
fair
what's
to
so
them
cool.
if we can do it, and eventually it's going to affect us. We are growing, and the more we grow, our license is going to change, and we may not be able to sell beer to go. So this is a big thing for us to get behind now instead of waiting and seeing what the outcome is. So,
Absolutely.
reach out to your your congressman, senator, and let them know that they need to support this.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much for being on the show. We couldn't agree more. Guillen, before we wrap it up, anything further on your end?
Yeah, I'm out of beer.
Oh,
well,
I got plenty
think we
for
can.
you.
I think we can solve that issue, and And I also think you know what I want. I moved this strangely empty cup towards you a moment ago.
This?
Yes. Oh, wait. I only have a tiny grasp on it there. I didn't want to.
Oh, gotcha.
That beer's way too good to spill. Oh, see, and here I thought you were pouring me
So hot.
We're out of so hot.
No, you got 3 more cans right here.
All right,
open
well,
one.
this
Those are
works.
yours.
This works well for everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in for show number 138. Thanks to everybody involved. Thanks to Adam on the Wheels of Steel. Have a wonderful week, my friends, and cheers. Yeah, no. When you started pouring, I was holding the cup like this.
Just barely.
Like, there's no way I would
way.
have been able to hold on to that.